Today we are talking about popular books that I have not read. Some of these are children's books, some of these are YA, some of these are nonfiction. So first up is Bread and Wine by Shauna Niequist. I have not read this one because I read one book by Shauna Niequist and it was bittersweet, and it is about like the hard times in life, and I found it really depressing, but I shouldn't judge the writer based on her saddest book. Everyone says this one's really good. It's about hospitality. I'm going to skip the recipes when I read it. Another popular book I've not read is Big Magic: Creative Living Beyond Fear by Elizabeth Gilbert. Right now I'm borrowing this from the library and it's due tomorrow. So yeah, I have like that much to read today, plus 2 other books that are due tomorrow, but you can only do so much. Another book that I have not read is Essentialism by Greg McKeown. Ooh, that is really hard to read backwards. Something like that. And this is about productivity and simplicity, and I feel like it's a really good book for growing in those areas. And I feel like if a book is written for adults, teenagers should read it to get ahead of the curve. So hopefully I can learn to be more productive and simplify with Essentialism. A children's book that I haven't read ever is A Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett. I saw the movie with Shirley Temple years ago and enjoyed the story, and I saw the play a few months ago and was reminded, that's a good story, I should eventually read this tiny little book, especially since I have a gorgeous edition of it. Hasn't happened yet. Tuck Everlasting by Natalie Babbitt is on every children's book list ever. Basically, if you had the chance to drink from the fountain of youth, would you or wouldn't you? Now we have Lizzie and Jane, a novel by Catherine Rie. It is inspired by Pride and Prejudice. I don't believe it's a retelling per se, but it is inspired by Jane Austen. And I've read Dear Mr. Knightley by her, and I've heard that this one's even better. So just like Bread and Wine, I need to give this author another shot. The Help by Catherine Stockett is a book that a few years ago pretty much everyone read, and I was too young for this book at the time, so I'm going to go back and read this book. Storm Siren by Mary Weber is a YA fantasy, I believe, and I'm not a huge fantasy person, but I like to give it a shot every now and then, and I have heard very high praise for this series, and I believe it will be clean because of the number of trustworthy people who have recommended it. So you always have to be careful with YA, but I think this one will be good. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte is the last book that is very popular that I have not read. If you haven't heard of Jane Eyre, okay. So I have to read this because I'm an English major. Not everyone in the world has to read this. You should be familiar with the story at the very least. But as an English major, I feel like I should read this one in high school, no matter how thick it is. And it's just something that will come up in English courses and literature courses, especially in British literature. There are hundreds more popular books that I haven't read that I want to read eventually, but for the sake of brevity and for the sake of me not having to put a million pictures in this video, I'm not going to list every single popular book I haven't read, because we'd be here a really long time.